Imagine this, your home is burning. Your people are dying. Ruthless warriors from across the sea have invaded your land, destroying everything in their path. You are the king, but you have no army, no kingdom, and nowhere to hide. The enemy thinks you are dead. Your own people have lost hope. What would you do? Would you surrender? Run away? Or would you fight back, even if it meant risking everything? This is the story of a man who refused to be defeated. A man who turned the tide of history when all seemed lost. A man who rose from the ashes and became the greatest king England had ever seen. His name was Alfred, and this is how he changed the world. The year was 871 AD, and England was on the brink of destruction. The mighty Vikings, ruthless warriors from the north, had swept across the land, burning villages, slaughtering men, and claiming kingdoms as their own. One by one, the Anglo-Saxon rulers had fallen, unable to withstand the sheer force of the invaders. In the midst of this chaos, a young prince named Alfred of Wessex stood among the ruins of his homeland. He was not the eldest son of King Ethelwulf, and he had never expected to rule. But fate had different plans. One by one, his elder brothers had perished in battle, leaving Alfred as the last hope of Wessex, the only kingdom still resisting the Viking onslaught. Now he was king, but it did not feel like a victory. In the bitter winter of 878 AD, Alfred found himself in hiding, deep in the marshes of Athelney, a small island in the middle of a vast swamp. The once mighty army of Wessex had been crushed by the great Viking leader, Guthrum, and only a handful of loyal men remained by Alfred's side. Cold, hungry, and betrayed by those he had trusted, Alfred stared into the flickering fire, his heart heavy with doubt. Could he ever reclaim his kingdom? Could he defeat the Viking horde that had taken everything from him? One evening, as Alfred sat lost in thought, an old peasant woman approached him. She did not know he was a king. She simply saw a weary man and asked him to watch her bread while it baked. Distracted by his troubles, Alfred forgot about the bread and it burned. When the woman returned, she scolded him harshly. "You useless man," she snapped. "You cannot even watch bread. How do you expect to rule a kingdom?" Her words stung. But they also awakened something in Alfred. If he wanted to be a king, he could not sit in despair. He had to act. And so, in that moment, Alfred made a vow. He would rise from the ashes, rebuild his army, and drive the Vikings from his land. But to do that, he needed a plan. Alfred knew that fighting the Vikings in open battle was foolish. Their warriors were strong, their ships were fast, and their numbers were overwhelming. But Alfred had something they did not: strategy. Instead of rushing into a reckless war, he spent the next few months carefully rebuilding his forces. He traveled in secret, visiting loyal Saxon villages, rallying his people with inspiring words. "Wessex is not lost," he told them. "The Vikings may have taken our land, but they have not taken our spirit. If we unite, we can drive them back." His people listened. Slowly, men began to join him. Farmers, blacksmiths, and hunters. Ordinary men who were ready to fight for their homeland. But Alfred knew that sheer numbers would not be enough. The Vikings were fearless in battle and their warriors fought like demons. If he wanted to defeat them, he needed something more. He needed to outthink them. In the spring of 878 AD, Alfred set his plan into motion. He sent out spies to gather information on Guthrum's army. He studied their weaknesses, their movements, their habits. He discovered that the Vikings were overconfident. They believed Wessex was already defeated. This was their mistake. Using the marshes of Athelney as a base, Alfred trained his men in guerrilla warfare. They would strike quickly, disappear into the forests, and attack again from another direction. Bit by bit, they began to weaken the Viking army, cutting off their supplies, ambushing their camps, and spreading fear among them. The Saxons, once thought to be broken, were rising again. But the real test was yet to come. By May of 878 AD, Alfred was ready. He had gathered an army of thousands, all loyal to Wessex, all determined to reclaim their land. The final battle would take place at Edington, where Guthrum's forces were stationed. The night before the battle, Alfred stood before his men. "Tomorrow we fight not just for Wessex but for all of England," he declared. "The Vikings believe we are weak. They believe we will run. But we will stand. We will show them the strength of our people." A great roar rose from his army. At dawn the battle began. The Vikings charged forward, their axes gleaming, their shields forming an impenetrable wall. But Alfred had planned for this. Instead of meeting them head-on, he ordered his men to hold the line, using their shields to absorb the impact. For hours the two sides clashed, neither gaining an advantage. Blood soaked the earth, swords shattered, and men fell. But Alfred refused to retreat. Then at the perfect moment he gave the order, "Now! Push forward!" With all their might, the Saxons surged ahead, breaking through the Viking ranks. Panic spread among Guthrum's warriors. They had not expected this kind of resistance. One by one they began to fall back. By nightfall the battle was over. The Saxons had won. Guthrum, once a mighty Viking warlord, was now a broken man. He and his surviving warriors retreated to their stronghold, but they knew they could not hold out forever. After 2 weeks of siege, Guthrum surrendered. Alfred, however, did not execute him. Instead, he offered him a choice: convert to Christianity and become an ally of Wessex. Guthrum, recognizing Alfred's wisdom, accepted. In a historic moment, the Viking warlord was baptized, taking the Christian name Athelstan. With this victory, Wessex was safe. But Alfred knew that his work was not over. Alfred did not just win battles, he rebuilt a nation. He strengthened England's defenses, building a network of fortified towns known as Buzz to protect against future Viking attacks. He reformed the military, ensuring that England would never be so vulnerable again. But more than that, Alfred believed in the power of education. He encouraged the study of Latin, law, and history, ensuring that knowledge would not be lost. Under his rule, Wessex became stronger than ever. And over time, his vision of a united England became a reality. Today, Alfred is remembered as Alfred the Great, the only English king to be given such an honor. Because he was not just a warrior. He was a leader, a thinker, and a man who never gave up. And that is why his name still lives on.